Hey guys, this is the beginning of probably a 2 to 4 hour long video that is going to be all about multi-track recording, literally starting with laying cable and going all the way up to our final mixdown, possibly even into mastering, but I'm not quite sure about that part yet, only because mastering takes quite a bit of time and a lot of listening effort. So this one is just going to be about multi-tracking a jazz quartet. Thought of this idea because of the whole COVID-19 pandemic. You guys have, this is where you watch me teach from. So I thought, since you're not getting any practical experience with all of our equipment at the school, let me make the best substitute that I possibly can. And I'm hoping to have a couple of goals accomplished here. First off, I really think that you're going to learn a lot from this. This is going to be an eye-opening experience for several of you. We're multi-tracking a quartet, 4 people, but it's going to use a lot of mics to get them all done. Mostly, particularly, of course, the drums. The drums are going to use most of the mics. But anywho, another goal is editing. I want you guys to see how a musician, which I'm a musician looks at Pro Tools and how I use it to edit other musicians. You'll see when we get there. Third goal. This one's a big one. Everything that you're going to hear in this recording was shot on budget mics. All right? Everything in this recording is all budget mics. I will introduce them to you as we go. But everything from the drum mics all the way to my best vocal mic I have, they're budget mics. And my goal is to show you that you don't need to buy super expensive microphones to get really great sound. So those are basically my goals. I'm sure I'll have other goals as I go, and I might mention them. But by the way, I will be interrupting myself as this video goes on and on. I will be popping in either in this camera or just like a selfie video or something like that, and interrupting myself to take care of some things that I might have missed when I was actually doing the tracking. I've already tracked the recording, and I've already tracked audio videotaped that whole section. Now it's time to put it together. But I got to take you back. I got to take you back to where we're going to start recording. And it's going to start with laying cable. All right? So everything about this is, it's one session, one song, 4.5 minutes long. If I remember right, it's about 4.5 minutes long. And what it takes to work with a set of very incredibly talented musicians and record them high quality using budget microphones and not much else. Not much else, honest to goodness. I'm not, as you guys know, for those of you who've taken my classes, you guys know, I'm not a money spender. I don't like spending money. And I like to pass that on to you, that you don't have to spend money and get great sound in your recording. So here we go.
This is kind of old.
Well, as the title screen just said, it's 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm barefoot, and I'm wearing a bright yellow shirt that's very, very comfortable. When I do my sessions, I like to be as comfortable as possible. I don't want to be uncomfortable because I'm going to be doing a lot of sitting while I'm making a multi-track recording. So comfort is key, and I can't stress that enough. I've got 2 8-channel snakes that I'm laying out. One is going into the drum room, which is a bedroom, and one is going out into the living room, which is the studio where I'm going to be doing most of the recording. And here I'm hooking everything up, and I'm going to interrupt myself really soon here because I want you guys to see the IOs that I'm using just as soon as I get done hooking up these channels. 8 is going to become our headphones, and okay, these are the IOs that I'm using for this recording. In fact, for every recording that I do, I use these IOs. So let's start with the top one. This is a Focusrite 18i20. It has 8 balanced XLR channels in. It has, my gosh, like 10 more different types of inputs on the back side, including optical inputs, SDI inputs. This is a pretty darn good unit. As far as the gain structure goes, on the front here, I've got, these are really quiet gains. I love them. Now, a little bit of a warning. Don't go buy a first gen 18i20 or a first gen anything first gen Focusrite, because their gains were not very good. They actually kind of stunk. But in the second gens and now even the third gens, they really upped the ante, and they oh my gosh, they're whisper quiet, gorgeous gains, transparent as all get at. Right over here, I want to point out a couple things to you. There's the this button and this button. So those two buttons are the phantom power. The first one, phantom power for the channels 1 through 4. The second button is channels 5 through 8. And then next to that, if I'm going to be doing an instrument recording, so for instance, if I plug an electric guitar in direct, which I don't know if I would do that or not, I would push the instrument button. Right next to that is our pad. All right, so channels 1 and 2 both have a pad and the instrument. The rest of these, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, do not have pads or the instrument. And Focusrite says that they do this because they have a sensor that senses if you're going to plug in an instrument into it, it senses the instrument, so on and so forth. Or if you're plugging a microphone into it, it senses that mic. I've had a couple of problems with that, and therefore in today's recording, I'll show you what I'm going to do to alleviate some of those problems. Like for instance, if I plug a dynamic mic into any of these channels 3 through 8, it works great. But if I plug a condenser mic into it, those condenser mics can really overrun the gain structure. Some of them, not all of my condenser mics, just some of them. So for instance, when I'm setting up the drums, these two, channels 1 and 2, are actually going to be my overheads, and then it goes kick, snare, tom 1, tom 2, floor tom, and then I left channel 8 open, and we'll talk about that a little later. Over here on my 18i20, I've got my monitor levels. So remember, that's one of the 6 points of audio. It's the last of the 6 points of audio is monitors. Underneath it is a dim switch. So if I want to talk to somebody without completely muting the music while I'm editing, I can just push the dim switch. All right. And then next to that is an overall mute switch, so it mutes everything. Here and here are the volume levels for headphones out. I will be setting up a series of headphone runs using just these two channels. I've got lots of sends on the back side of this guy. There's 20 different outputs on the back side of an 18i20. So 18 ins, 20 outs. That's why they call it the 18i20. And I can send individual headphone mixes to anybody that I want through the outputs in the back. Well, this time I kind of cheated, and I gave my drummer this one, and everybody else came off of this one, and I have a headphone amplifier that I sent it to. It worked out great. They weren't picky and choosy, so I'm happy with that. Now, let's go underneath. Right down here, this is a Focusrite Claret Octopre. It just adds 8 more balanced channels of audio. And this thing has a couple of pretty neat features. So first off, just like the 18i20 above it, this is my phantom power for channels 1 through 4, 5 through 8 is down here. We'll get to these buttons in just a moment. Over here, it allows me to do inserts. I can do inserts to where I send signal to an insert. We'll talk about the air button in just a moment. The button that's on the right there is called air. Of course, I've got my instruments, all that kind of stuff are all underneath here. Sync, we'll talk about that a little later too. I can choose my sample rates, all this kind of stuff. Well, actually, I'll talk about that, the sync button right now. I can either have this unit be the master clock to where everything synchronizes to it, including Pro Tools, or I have Pro Tools. It synchronizes, Pro Tools synchronizes to this unit. And this guy down here talks to this guy up here via a coaxial cable. Okay. Also, all of the inputs, my 8 balanced XLR inputs, send everything from here, up to my 18i20, via an optical cable. You can hardly see it. It's the little black cable right down here. So it plugs in right down there, and it sends to right up here. So it sends everything optically. These little buttons down here are multi-faceted buttons depending on what you choose over here, either insert or air. Insert allows you to insert a signal into the signal path. This one is an interesting one, the air button. It emulates Focusrite's old preamps that they used to come out with, and it emulates them quite well. So it gives a standard condenser mic or a dynamic mic that almost a tube, an airy tube feel. I use it rarely. It's actually a little too much air for my ears. Some people love more air than they know what to do with. You know, I like to breathe air, but I don't necessarily like a whole lot of air in my recordings. If you don't know what air means, we are going to be talking about that during the mixdown. So, that is the setup that is going to be used in the recording. I have 16 channels available. I can do a live recording with 16 different mics, 16 different inputs. Today's is going to be 11. I'm going to use 11 channels. Okay, I'm going to interrupt myself while I'm interrupting myself. The reason why I just got done doing this whole thing about my IOs and the fact that I need 16 different channels for what I do is because what I specialize in is called live tracking. So there are two ways to make a multi-track recording. One is called the process of overdub, and the other one is called live tracking. Live tracking is quite simply when you bring the band members into a room, into the studio, and you wire them all up at once, and you just 1, 2, 3, go, and off they go. And they play the song. They get done with the song, you listen to it. That one wasn't very good. Play the song again. And they do it again, over and over and over. Sometimes it can be 20, 30 tries before they finally get that one special take that's like, that's it, that's magic. The process of overdub is a bit different in that you bring the band in, you put them in the studio, and you'll track them one time on a pretty good, and hopefully you'll get a pretty good take. They're going to track with a metronome. So a metronome is there to keep them in time. So the whole band will track with a metronome. Then you go back and you overdub every single part to the original take. So you overdub the drums. You actually redo all the drums. And they lay down a new set of tracks over their original tracks that they laid down that first time. That first time is called a scratch track. So then after you get those, the drums are now perfect. It might take several takes, but they'll get their beats down perfect. And then you move on. Bring in the bass player. All right. Now the bass player overdubs what they did with that original scratch track. And that bass player is playing to the overdubbed drum tracks. So we got the perfect drum track. Now we're going for the perfect bass track. Then once we get the perfect bass track, then we go for the perfect piano track. And then once we get the perfect piano take, and it just keeps going and going and going until we get to the vocalist. All right. And then once we get the perfect vocal take. So what happens is the vocalist sits there and listens to the entire, everything is perfect. The perfect drum take, the perfect bass take, the perfect piano take. And then in this case, because it's a quartet, a jazz quartet, then the singer, our vocalist, sings to everything that is perfected. And then they sing over and over and over until they get that perfect take. You can even stop and start and do little tiny chunks at a time during the overdub process. So if you've got a 4.5 minute long song, you just tell them, okay, let's go for the first 30 seconds. And they'll sing the first 30 seconds over and over until they get that one great take. And then you take that one great take and put it in. And then let's go for the next 30 seconds. And then do the next 30 seconds. We can do that if we want. If we're striving for that type of perfection, yeah, we can do that. But there's some things that get lost in translation during the process of overdubbing, and that is this magic synergy that takes place when musicians get together doing their art, which is music, and they get together and something happens to where when they lay down music together, they're working in as an accord, one unit with four, in this case, four people. There's this magic synergy that takes place, and we call it, in a sense, music. And a spirit kind of lives in that moment. So it's funny. Multi-track, when you're doing a multi-track recording in the overdub process, you can come up with the perfect take. It may have taken 100 different types of overdubs and piecing everything together on the timeline. And you get this perfect take. But then there's live tracking, where it may not be perfect, and music is not necessarily supposed to be perfect. That's something else we can go down another road. But live tracking allows that spirit that happens between those individuals inside a band at that moment. And you actually get something a little bit better than perfection. You get that music moment. My buddy Stefan Vaughn, he calls it plugging into the cosmic groove. And capturing that moment when they all plug into the cosmic groove at the exact same time is something pretty special. Bringing this all back around. That is why I use 2 IOs, each with 8 channels of XLR input, so that I can track, generally speaking, track a band live. Overdub, if I was just always going to do the process of overdub, I would only need 1 IO with 8 channels, and that's a drum set. Because everything else, a singer is 1. A piano, I need a couple mics and sometimes 4 mics on a piano. Bass, that's 1. Guitar sometimes is 1 or 2. All right, you don't need that many mics except for on a drum set. So if you're going to do the process of overdubbing, just 1 IO is probably going to be enough. But since I prefer to do live tracking, I need at least 16 inputs. So let me stop interrupting myself and let's get back to, we're about to wire up the drum set. All right, we're about to break out the mics for the drum set. Drum mics. All right, so before moving on, let's just go through this set of drum mics. Every single one of the mics, with exception of 2 of them, these are all dynamic mics. So I've got a kick drum mic, I've got a snare mic, I've got Tom 1, Tom 2, and Tom 3. Those are all dynamic mics. But over here for my overheads, overhead left and overhead right, these are condenser mics. When used correctly, they give the drum set a nice stereo, just a wide stereo sound. I primarily use those to capture my cymbals with, which is generally what most people use their overheads for, is capturing the cymbals. But in this case, you're about to see that I'm going to do a little interesting placement, because there's only 7 mics in this. There's only 7. Generally speaking, you can use 8. Think about it. I've got a kick drum, I've got a snare, I've got a hi-hat. Those are 3 very, very important drums. I've got Tom 1, Tom 2, and a floor tom, and then I'll have 2 overheads. Well, that's 8 different signals that I need to capture. So I may add an 8th mic to this kit right here. It'll just be like an SM57, and it will become the hi-hat mic, as you'll see. But for right now, 7 seems to work out pretty good. This is, by the way, it's a fantastic kit. This kit has a great sound, as you will hear when we start mixing. This kit performs way over and above its price point, which its price point on sale, I got this kit for $115. Whole kit, $115. And yes, I use it regularly in recordings because it sounds so good. All right. I can't blame you if you're asking yourself, what the heck is he doing? I'm actually placing the kick drum mic. I've put a number of towels and even a pillow inside the kick drum to help dampen it. Otherwise, it has a terrible boomy ring sound. Almost all kick drums, when you record them, you kind of dampen them down a bit. And now I'm placing the kick drum mic right on the towels. And notice that it's not at the center of the kick drum. It's off, way off to the side, because it's right there off to the side that you're going to pick up some really great tones for the kick drum. Plus, you get a good beater sound, the sound of the beater hitting the head right there. All right, it's time to clip the mics onto the drum set. It's kind of funny because generally speaking, when you're recording, you don't clip mics to drums because it doesn't sound that good. So generally speaking, you'll get your Shure SM58s, a bunch of Shure SM57s, and you put them on mic stands, and and there's mic stands and cables, everything everywhere. But in this room that we're in does not have a lot of room. Maybe that's how your room is too. This drum set, this mic set for drums is really a great set, and it gets rid of the fact that you need stands. So that's what we record with. But this is a 7-mic kit, and it actually sounds pretty good. If you put your mics in the right spot, you can get a really, really good balanced sound with just 7 mics. So that's what we're going to do. And if after we get recording, I feel like, man, it's just not working out with with 7 mics, then I'll change it. We'll add a mic. We'll make a mic, a hi-hat mic. So with the 7, we're skipping the hi-hat mic, and we're going to capture the hi-hat and this crash with this guy. And I'm going to actually take this mic and bias it. We've talked about bias before. Bias it to where it is listening to more of the hi-hat than it is of the crash, because the hi-hat is our timekeeper, it's our metronome. So one of the things that I always like to do before, as I'm setting up, I've already checked most of my cables once a couple days ago, but just to make sure, it doesn't hurt to have a cable tester, and you just run a test on your cables as you wire them up. So before I unravel it, pop it in here, and we're good, we're good, we're good, ta-da! The whole reason why you test your cables before you wire them up is to alleviate that potential of popping and hissing during the middle of a recording. You don't want that. So one of the ways that makes wiring on a mic stand pretty easy is you come up the center and come up the back side. Give yourself enough cable to give yourself 2 times around, and then plug it in. And that gives a nice loop, because you never want to see that. That's bad. All right, so you always give yourself enough to where you have a nice loop. One of the pet peeves that I have, that every studio should also have, is this. That's hugely unacceptable. It's just a spaghetti mess of wires. So we're just going to organize them real quick and get them out of the way and nice and neat and bundled up. That's a bit better. It's good enough for government work. It keeps the mess out of the way, less of a trip hazard, because after all, we are dealing with musicians. And there it is. It's a thing of beauty. A kick drum mic, snare drum mic, 3 tom mics, and a couple of condenser overheads. Ah. One of the things that that I do here, and that I do in studios and a lot of places, is I use the snake, and I use, these are inputs, so we have all our XLR cables go into the inputs, but I've left one open on purpose, in which what I'm going to do is I need what's called, that's okay, Bubba, is a gender changer. All right, I'm going to pop that onto this cable. This cable is an XLR to balanced TRS. But if you also notice, if you hold this up next to a headphone cable, this looks just like a headphone cable, 1/4-inch headphone cable. And it just happens to be that on the inside of our balanced cables, we have 3 conductors. So I'm turning this cable into a send for mics to a return for headphones. So I'm just going to plug this in here. All right, and now to be able to plug a set of headphones into this is another gender changer, and it's a stereo gender changer. And we are now ready to plug headphones into this. So later you'll see how on the other end where I'll be taking the send 8 and making it a return by using another gender changer and doing the same thing out of the headphone amp. So it's just one of those cheap way of doing things that work really well. We're back at the I/O, and it's time to hook in the or plug in the headphone send that I was just plugging in the drum room. And so on this end I've got my 1/4 inch TRS headphone plug, but it just happens to end up on a XLR plug. All right, so we're gonna take this, I'm gonna plug it in here. All right, and then this one's going to plug into my snake on channel 8, which is the one that I was turning into a send for my drummer. Now what will happen is that I'll be able to talk to Lewis, the drummer, and I can send him more volume by turning this up and down. I control the volume here. And I can also give him what he wants as far as the mix. What does he need in his mix? I'll be able to do that with another program that I'll show you in just a little bit. And the same thing is going to happen with this send. This send is going to become the send for the rest of my performers out in the other room. And that one, so I'll plug in another TRS to XLR, plug that XLR end into another channel to the other snake, and then it's going to go to the other head of the snake where I will gender change that head and XLR to TRS, and then that TRS is going to plug into this. This is a headphone amp. So what it gives me is that through one send, one signal, I can divide that signal into 4 different headsets, which is, in this case it's perfect because I'm only going to need 3 out there, and it works out perfectly. This thing is a little gem. Can't speak highly enough about this guy right here. Not too expensive. That's a good thing, and it does a really, really nice job in that each performer out in the other room can control their volume and their balance individually. They just come over and they turn things up and down, and they call it good. So let's continue on. This is Monoprice LC200. Fantastic microphone. This is the equivalent to a very expensive Mojave. Has the same sound. What's really great is this little guy right here. I'm going to be switching this because right now it's on omnidirectional. It's now on bi, and now it's on cardioid pattern. So this is the front of the mic, and this is going to be pointing down towards the strings of the guitar of the piano. Have 2 mics. One's already in there. That's for the low end, so and it will be panned all the way to the left, and this one will be panned all the way to the right, and it will give the a beautiful, beautiful stereo effect. Make this piano sound, or it's already a good sounding piano, but it'll make it sound even better because it'll be in stereo. So you're just setting it all out. So I'm placing both of these mics way towards the back side of the piano, and that's to keep those mics away from what are called the piano dampers. And those dampers cause a really thuddy sound every time the piano is dampened by the pianist player. Also, my mics are going to be angled at about a 35-degree angle towards the rear. The one that I'm working on right now is placed just over what's called a soundboard port and also part of the high-end strings. The other mic is placed at the end of our bass strings, the low-end strings. Each one is spaced about 12 inches apart from each other. It's called a kind of an extended Ordiff pattern. The mics will then be panned to the left and to the right and give a beautiful, beautiful stereo sound. So one of the problems with the new digital systems is stuff called latency. We talked about it in one of our lectures. When you're choosing an I/O, you have to choose an I/O that doesn't have a whole lot of latency, or at least has what's called instantaneous foldback. On our 18i20 and a lot of the Focusrite stuff, they come with this program called Focusrite Control. And Focusrite Control allows me to have a pre-mix before it goes to Pro Tools. Whatever I do up here affects nothing going into Pro Tools. This is quite literally so that I can set up a headphone mix to my different performers. And it's instantaneous whenever, if there's no latency whatsoever. It's instant feedback to the headphones so that the performers don't get that ever so slight delay that will throw them off on timing. So this is a fantastic, fantastic little program that comes with several of, I think you get it with Focusrite's 6i6 and above. But if you purchase a 4i4 or below, you do not get the Focusrite Control. What you get is a switch on the actual I/O that turns it from mixing to actually recording. So when you switch it to the record side of thing, it's instantaneous feedback to the performer. So love it, love Focusrite Control.
When it says it's a B flat instrument and the chart is written as D, is that?
C.
So it's in C.
Oh, okay. Let me just, I'm pretty sure I do it in, but normally the way I do it, I just figured for variation for his students as far as sound, I do the whole thing once through with just piano, really ad-lib and slow as a ballad, and then at the very end, just kick into a one, this is Saturday day, and then go into a big swing thing. And then if you guys, I don't know if you want solos for different instrumentation, Dave.
Yeah, it would be really, really cool.
Because then everybody could do their own
Yeah,
solos.
we could have a acoustic bass solo, dude.
Sure.
And let Randall, have fun on the piano. If there's anything that feels out of adjustment, let me know, and I'll try to adjust it real quick. And I'll.
Real slow, just sort of chords underneath me or whatever. Miss the Saturday day.
Okay.
Heard they cry on the floor. Could be very
I had made it through about half of ribbons, and then Zoom started cutting out, and our Wi-Fi started I was like, alright, and the dogs rolled it all over, like, walk, 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 they wanted to walk it.
Was
Like, I know, it
I adjust. Okay, you guys, so I'm interrupting myself because what would be a recording session without talking about acoustics, especially room acoustics? When it comes to recording overall, we like to keep our rooms sounding relatively natural. Not a whole lot of echo, but we don't also want them dead, to where we've got, just tons and tons of acoustic paneling everywhere and foam coverings, to where it has a very dead feel. We want our room space to actually have a natural sound to it. One of the things that's very, very helpful when it comes to setting up a room for recording is to make sure that you don't have a whole lot of parallel spaces, so that it's not like a box, like whether it be a square box or a rectangular box that has 90-degree angles, so that the sound can bounce around back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. That actually leads to some pretty bad acoustics. Real fortunate, this is a blessing beyond blessing. The house that I live in now, which is has an octagon room. This whole room, in fact, I'll go ahead and turn this around. This entire room is set up in an octagon fashion so that there are no walls that are parallel to each other, with the exception of this wall window with this wall. Most of the sound in here actually ends up going out and around these corners. It reflects off of this window and goes out and dissipates out here in this kitchen. So when I'm standing, when I've got my musicians and they're out here, I've got them positioned in such a way to where this room's acoustic helps to dissipate their sound easily, or better than just a room that has 90-degree angles and parallel wall spaces. So when it comes to setting up your own space, you may need to put up baffles or something. Put up something that will help reflect space or absorb. We needed to absorb some sound for sure. But we also needed to dissipate some of that sound energy in such a manner that it doesn't have an adverse effect on our instruments. Now, most of the times when we are recording, we're doing what's called close miking technique. So we put the mics pretty darn close to the sound sources, and therefore room acoustics become far less of a thing because we've got the microphones set so close to the sound sources that we have to turn the gain down so that basically the room disappears. And then later when we're doing mixdown, we actually will put room effects, that's the reverb, we'll put room effects into the mix to make it sound natural, because we don't want that terrible dry sound. Dry sound is just, it doesn't work for us. So anywho, there is basically one instrument out there that has, changes from room to room, and that is the drum set. Man, drums hang on a second. Sorry. Drums really change from room space to room space to room space. So yeah, there are times when we need to have certain spaces. We have to have a really dead space, but overall, because of close miking technique, we can be in a normal room, a living room, maybe have to cover up some things. By the way, you're going to notice that the piano has, I draped it with a sleeping bag to help absorb some of the sound from the bass and our lead singer from going into the piano mics. It doesn't stop it completely, but it does help it. And by having that sleeping bag draped over the piano, it helped to absorb the sound of the bass and the singer. It improved the room acoustics. But when it comes to recording in a room, living rooms are a pretty good space. And the reason why they're a good space, because of all the couches. Couches help to absorb a lot of our sound acoustic energy. So I've got a couch over here, I've got a couch over here, and I've got this couch. I have walls that are working for me in a 60-degree angle, all the way around to help move the sound to out and into place. It takes it and moves it into the kitchen, so that I've got this room just happens to be a really well acoustically balanced room. Fortunate that it just happened to work out that way when we moved into this house. I've recorded trombone choirs here. I've recorded other singers here. I've recorded saxophones, trumpets, flutes. I've done a lot of recording in this space, and it's a great space because of how it dissipates the sound. And, hey, there's one more thing, carpet. Everything, we got carpet. Lots of carpet. Carpet helps to absorb sound. And it also gives, again, a nice natural sound to our recording. So again, we're using the close miking technique to help eliminate most of our room acoustics. And then we add in later during the mixdown, we'll add in the room acoustics that we want to have in our mixdown. Just know that the big one that changes from room to room, that's the drums. That one instrument changes its acoustic sound from room to room. So let's get back into this. We're almost to get ready to start the recording, and I won't interrupt us anymore. Sure, Dave. Yeah, sure.
You don't get around much anymore. Something like that as an ending. Does that work for everybody?
So what we're doing right now is we're setting up headphone mixes, and so that everybody can hear what they need to hear and perform correctly. So they're going to be running the tune.
I feel like I'm only hearing you guys from the room sound, which is quite fine because I'm in the same room.
I can turn up the...
No, it's fine. I'll hear them.
As long as you hear enough of you, too.
You won't hear the drums.
Hey, Dave! Can I have just a little bit more bass?
So what you guys are seeing is a headphone mix, different headphones, and then my monitors are up here. So what I'm hearing is out of Pro Tools. What they're hearing is straight from the mics into the headphones. And when they feel comfortable, then we're probably going to lay some stuff down. Yeah.
It's awfully different without you. A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3. Oh, see, I don't know how to count that. 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't do the bottom. I'll do the bottom.
Just count one
Just
measure.
one measure in.
So 1, 2, 3, 4.
Miss the saddle. Got it. A 1, 2, 3, 4. Miss the saddle. Got it. Okay. So I'll just do the other. Awfully different without you. Don't get around much anymore. A 1, 2, 3, 4. Miss the Saturday dance. Heard they crowded the floor. Couldn't bear it without you. Don't get around much. Does that work good for everybody?
Yeah.
That works okay? Without you, I don't get around much anymore. A 1, 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4. Miss the Saturday dance. Heard they crowded the floor. I couldn't bear it without you. I don't get around much anymore. Thought I'd visit love. Without you, I don't get around much anymore. It's all
This is like one of the best parts. We just captured lightning in a bottle. There's just no other way of putting it, that we captured lightning in a bottle. And now we have to take that lightning and we have to shape it and balance it, and maybe even recolor it. This is my most favorite part. I don't get me wrong, I absolutely love the entire process of recording, setting up the mics. I even love tearing them down. All the balances, watching them record, working with great musicians, that is all, it's mind-blowing and wonderful. And then when we get that moment, when we capture lightning in the bottle, it's like, woohoo, okay, now we get to edit it. And what you guys are about to see, this is the end of a very long road. In a sense, everything that you do, pre-production, production, and now we're starting post-production. From that moment of pre-production, it leads to post-production when we get to start editing. Pre-production in this project started way back in June. And now here we are several months later, and we're finally to this point where everything that we did led to this moment where we get to start edit. And editing is this moment now where I'm going to take that lightning that we captured in a bottle, and I'm probably going to add some different colors to it. I might even shape the lightning itself. I'd probably chop some things up. We'll see. We'll see what we've got and what we've got to work with. And you guys are going to come along for that ride. So enjoy this. This is going to be really, hopefully very educational. I'm going to have fun. I hope you have fun with me. All right, here it is. Here's our session. Very plain Jane looking. It's just what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 tracks and a master. Okay. And right now there's nothing. We've got no inserts, so no effects, no equalization, no delay, no nothing. Not sending it anywhere. No, don't need to send it anywhere. Look at my pans. All my pans are dead center right now, so this is not going to sound good. All my levels are dead center, so nothing's going to sound really good. Let's just take a look at what we tracked. All right, and I have to put it over here. There we go. And here's from top to bottom, from the kick down to my piano and the master track. This is take 1. Let me zoom out a little bit. So there's take 1. Here's take 2. Here's take 3, and here's the money, take 4. But before we do anything, I'm going to go ahead and listen to all the other takes, just not all of them completely. I do want to listen just to the beginning. I like the beginning. I like it when we do the transfer from the ballad into the swing, and then maybe the end. So let's just take a listen to each one, and then we'll start actually doing some work, some real work. So this is the beginning of take 1. This is when they all had the jitters.
Missed the Saturday dance. Heard they crowded the floor. Couldn't bear it without you. I don't get around much anymore.
Okay, now let's take a listen to when they kick it off into the swing.
A 1, 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4. Missed the Saturday dance. Heard they crowded the floor. I couldn't bear it without you. I don't get around much anymore. Thought I'd visit the club.
I like it. Yeah, that doesn't sound bad. Again, this is in mono. Wait until we start. Just wait. Okay, so here is the beginning of take 2. Notice that? Totally different beginning. I mean, Randall just kind of ad-libbed everything as they went. Every single one of them just kind of ad-libbed what they were going to do, just felt the moment and went for it. So, yeah, here it is again, the beginning of take 2.
Saturday dance. Heard they crowded the floor. I couldn't bear it without you.
Oh, I like it. Okay, let's see what happens when they kick it into the swing.
I don't get around much anymore. Miss the Saturday dance. Heard they crowded.
Okay, so I remember that. I remember what happened. Francesca was doing the count off. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it just wasn't ever feeling right. So on that particular take, take 2, Randall just went ahead and laid in a series of pickups, like a pickup measure, to lead us into the correct tempo. And nobody was ready for it. He just went for it. He just improvised it right over the top, and that's what we got.
I don't get around much anymore. Miss the Saturday dance.
All right. But it set a precedent. Everybody liked it. At the end of that, everybody's like, hey, we love that. Let's do that from now on. No more count off. So here is the beginning of take 3.
Missed the Saturday dance. Heard they crowded the floor.
Oh,
I couldn't bear it.
oh, that's rich. I want to hear that again. The piano, what Randall did on the piano. Oh my gosh. Oh.
Heard they crowded
This right here.
I couldn't bear it with
Be still my beating heart.
flow. I couldn't bear it without you.
See how he was settling in? Everybody was settling in. So let's take a listen to when they kick it into the swing.
Anymore. Miss the Saturday dance.
It was real rough.
Anymore. Miss the Saturday dance. Heard they crowded the floor. I couldn't bear it without you.
All right, okay. So let's take a listen now. Here's take 4. Let's listen to the beginning of take 4 and then into the transition.
Missed the Saturday dance.
Let's listen to that beginning again.
Missed the Saturday dance.
Something about that. I kind of don't like it. But this is the one. This was the money take. So we're gonna work with that. We're gonna do some editing on that beginning. All right. One more time.
Missed the Saturday dance. Heard they crowded the floor.
Okay. How about the transition into the swing?
Anymore. Missed the Saturday dance. Heard they crowded the floor.
Yeah, I like it. I like everything about this take. That beginning was a little rough. How about the end?
Oh, you, I don't get around much anymore.
Okay, good. All right. So that's that out of the way. We know that this is the one we're working with, number 4. So let's before we start doing a little bit of cleanup, I do want to just kind of balance things out just a little bit when I'm listening things. I mean, obviously the drums there at the end were just way too loud. So I guess the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and make a new group. So Control and G will bring it up, or the little arrow down will bring it up. So I'm going to call one. We're going to call it drums. Okay, and I'm going to add what I want, and that is the kick, tom 1, tom 2, floor tom, overhead left hi-hat. Yeah, so kick, tom 1, tom 2, oh, snare. I've got to put the snare in there, my gosh. All right, so kick, snare, tom 1, tom 2, floor tom, overhead left, which is also the hi-hat, principal hi-hat, and overhead right. All right, okay, good. Let's go ahead and let's make another group. All right, this one's going to be the piano. Because see, I've got two tracks for the piano left and piano right. So here's piano left, all right, and piano right, and for some reason overhead got in there. So there we go. Piano left, piano right. That's my piano. Cool. I just want to solo the piano. All right, and take a listen to the piano as I separate it. Listen to how great this gets when we separate the piano, because remember, we recorded it in stereo. So here's the beginning in mono, and listen to it when I separate it as we go. See why we put it in stereo? Did you guys hear that? If you've got headphones on, you just went, whoa, you've got to be kidding me. Yeah, that's why we put those mics at that angle, at that separation, so that we get this really wide, non-centered piano sound. Let's do it again for the fun of it. All right, let me take that back. Here it is in mono, and then I'll separate it. Oh.
Saturday dance.
Isn't that stunning? All right. So now let's do the same thing to our drums. I'm going to set up an initial pan mix according to how the drums were laid out, how the mics were laid out, and how the drums were laid out. So of course we're going to start with overhead left and overhead right. Okay. So overhead left and overhead right. You pan them all the way to the left and all the way to the right. That's why we call them overhead left and overhead right. So that's the first thing. I mean, here, let me go ahead and put this into where the drums are playing. And somewhere in that area. Okay. Let me, just go ahead and solo all these guys. Okay. And take a listen to the drum set. Let's start with separating those overhead left and overhead right. You're already going to start to hear something sound way better. All right, it's already way better. Just having those overheads separated, full left and full right, really starts to liven up the drums. The kick is going to stay in the center. Kick is almost always in the center, unless of course you have a double kick, and then you put one slightly off center to the left, one slightly off center to the right. But man, you want your mix to have that kick in the center, because that's that area that in the center, it's causing both of our, if it's, stereo, both of the main drivers to whoever's listening to it, whatever speaker system they're listening to it in, both main drivers are moving that air for that kick, and we want that moved. So drums, the kick stays in the center. All right, the snare. The snare was way off over to the left. All right, so let me go ahead and pan that thing way off to the left. About 80-90% to the left, right? Somewhere in that area. We'll fine tune it as we go. So tom 1 is going to be right about here. Tom 2 is going to be right about here. Tom 3 way over here. Okay. And now what's funny is that based on what these overhead left and right mics heard, I have now kind of separated all of my drums, the individual drums, to have a much better wide sound. Let's take a listen to it.
It's the Saturday dance.
Here we go. That is so much better. All right, and now the next thing I want to do is I'm going to end up balancing these things. I can already tell my kick is way too loud, but we got to do some work on it. We got to EQ these things. It's going to take a while. It's going to take a long time. Snare, I'm going to leave it somewhere in that area. Tom, if I remember right, he never, let's take a look. Here is Tom 2. Tom 2. Looking at it, look, all the way across. He never, ever touched Tom 2. It was always Tom 1. See, here's a hit. Here's another hit on Tom 1. It was our snare, and our floor tom got hit a couple times here and there, especially down. Yep, there's floor tom. So guess what I'm going to do to Tom 2? It's gone. Just like that. I'm taking it out of the mix. I don't want something in the mix that doesn't need to be there. That's just noise. that mic was capturing. So Tom 2, bye. Nothing against you, Tom 2, but Lewis never hit you. So that took care of Tom 2. Let's listen to it again. All right. I like it.
Got as far as the door. They'd have asked me about you. I don't get around much anymore.
Okay, I like it. Let me put the drums back here, and so now they're on their group, so I can move them as a group, the whole entire drum set up and down. We're definitely going to be balancing these out. I'm not going to leave them the way they are, but for right now, this is good. My piano is also a little loud, so I'm going to bring the piano down just a skosh.
Saturday dance. Heard they crowded the floor. I couldn't bear it without you. I don't get around much.
Okay, that's a good start. That's a really good start. Just to give me something to work with. It's in stereo. I've got no effects yet. Nothing's up here yet. So this is a good start. Now we got to clean. And you're like, what do you mean by clean? Well, remember how we just got rid of an entire channel disappeared in a sense. I'm going to leave it there. But and remember, well, for those of you who are Pro Tools folks, that track is still over here in my bin. All right, so way up here, Tom 2. All right, so Tom 2 is right here, and here's Tom 2 take 1, Tom 2 take 2, take 3 take. There's Tom 2 take 4. So if I decide that I need that back for whatever the reason, I can grab this and bring it right back and line it up with everything. Kind of cool, huh? I love that about Pro Tools. But for right now, I'm leaving it out. There's just no reason to have it in there. So let's go to the beginning of our take. And I know I've got some cymbal rolls, but my kick and everything, nothing happens until here. So I'm literally going to, let's take, what is that? I see a little tap right there.
Miss the Saturday.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take, we're going to take everything on this track, kick, snare, Tom 1. All right, I'm just going to get rid of them. Okay, so watch this. I'm going to take it. Oh, I still got my group on. All right, so here we go. Tom 1 to that point. Snare to this point. We're just cleaning it up. There's no reason to have those tracks with anything in the mix when they weren't being played. So it's like we're muting them up to that point. Floor tom, same thing. All right, we'll clean it up when we get a little further along. Overhead left and overhead right, there's something going on in there. All right, there was he did some little rolls. Look, let's take a look at them. Boop, 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 boop. There they are. All right, so there's a roll here and a roll here, and he did some really nice little roll work there, and I love that. So we're gonna clean that up. But look, my bass track, the bass player doesn't start in earnest to here. All right, so let's get rid of it all the way up to his first note, which is right there. Boom. Okay, same with these. Let's clean them up to the first notes. Let's clean it up to the first note here. Clean it up here. All right, first note on my tom. Floor tom gets cleaned up all the way to here. Yeah, because and believe it or not, we're going to go through each one of these. All right, now we're going to do it right now. We're going to go through each one of these and we're going to clean them up. All right, so notice how Tom 1 gets hit here. Nothing to here. So we're taking it and we'll do some work on it a little bit later. All right, same thing here. Taking it. Do some work on it a little later. All right, just going to go one by one all the way up to when he does his hits for the entire song. So some people are like, oh, really? You do that? Yes, you do. Because there's just no reason to have that sound in there. By the way, this looks like it's all completely gone when it was out. it looks like, look at this. It looks like it's all, look at that. Oh no, Dave did bad. No. I increased the magnification of all the tracks so that I could see those cymbal rolls. I'm just going to put it back so that we can, that's all it was. It's not actually increasing the volume level of all the tracks. I was just coming up here and increasing those levels so that I could see the cymbal rolls, which we're going to use those in a little bit. Let's do the next one. All right, we'll go like this, delete it, do the next one, delete it. All right, oops, I cut that one a little close, but that's okay. We can clean that up in a little bit. All right, I'm just gonna go each one, till we've got them pretty well cleaned up. I want the separation in all my channels. I don't want any bleed through. All right. Those look like hits, so we're going to treat them like hits until we find out that maybe they're not hits. Nope, so they're not hits, so let's go ahead and take it out up to that point. Okay, you have to forgive me, I can't see the slider bar there, the scroll bar, because it's behind the camera. And, you know, I think I'm going to leave it right there. Let's take a look. All right. Yay. All right, we're going to do that for each one. So I'm not going to have you guys suffer through that with me. So I'm going to go ahead and clean these all up and give me, well, for you, it's just going to seem like instantaneous. But let me clean these guys up here. Let me clean up the floor tom. I'm going to clean up my overhead left and right. That'll save 3 or 4 minutes of you going, you've got to be kidding me. So I'll see you in 3 or 4 minutes. Okay, so here it is. We've got it all cleaned up. You can see over here, the Tom 1 and the floor tom. Notice that I got rid of the Tom 2 track. We're not going to use it. Doesn't need to take up any memory. Just got rid of it. All the Tom 2 stuff, all the original tracks, they're still over in my clips bin. So if I need to, which I'm not going to because it's just a blank track. So if I need to drag anything out, I can make that track again and drag things out and put it back on the timeline if need be. I want to show you guys something else, and then there's probably a question that might be forming in some of your heads like, Dave, what about using a gate? We'll get there. How come you didn't use a gate? I'll answer that. I want to show you a couple other things when I'm doing cleanup. Let me zip in on this guy right here. I put in fade ins and fade outs, clip fades in, clip fade outs on each one of these, just in case there's the potential of a pop. It won't happen, all right? Because it literally is going to fade in, the drum will hit, and then it fades out. All right, and I've done that on all of my clips across the board here, wherever I did. I'll see, there's one, there's a couple, All right, oh, look. So how do you put in a clip fade in, fade out? All right, right here, this is my smart tool. It's on right now. If I just turn in on any of these, then my icon will only be that tool. So this is my trim tool, this is my selector tool, this is my grabber tool. But if I push that, now it becomes a smart tool. And with the smart tool, if I hover in the upper left hand or upper right hand corner of any clip, you get this little square. And that means I can drag a fade in or fade out. So it makes it really easy to do this kind of stuff across the board. All right, while I'm checking these, I'm checking. These all are looking pretty good. In and out. Yep, all right. Even down here, I did it on our Francesca's. So she stopped singing right here, so I gave her her clip a fade out. There's a fade in. She didn't do any singing during the solo section, so I've cleaned it up. Her mic is basically muted during that time. Here's a fade out from that last, don't get around much anymore. And then it fades her out. All right. And this is not linked to automation. All right. If I click over here, these don't move. See that? It didn't move at all. The automation is something else. We'll do a little bit of that later on. And let me see what else. At the beginning of her clip, There's the end. Okay. So I left these ones undone. These are the rolls, cymbal rolls. So it just gives a nice flair, a nice personality to the moments. Lewis was he's such a tasteful drummer. And so he gave the music some swells with cymbal rolls.
Around much anymore. Darling, I guess.
Isn't that nice? So over here, there's a small one right here, a cymbal roll.
Anymore. Thought I'd visit.
It's not quite loud enough. Now I can automate that, or how about using clip gain to get us in there? So check this out. I can take this guy right here. It's a little teeny tiny fader. It's the gain on every clip, and I can raise it up. And you can see that I'm bringing up the overall volume of that roll since I do. Since it was recorded in stereo. I'm lifting both of them in semi-equal amounts. Let's listen to it.
Anymore. Thought I'd visit the club.
See, that's so much better. All right. And so I went ahead and did that with that one, this one, and let's take a look at this one here. I haven't done it to this cymbal roll yet. Let's listen to it.
Been invited on days.
Yeah, it could certainly use it. Let's go ahead and pop it up a bit. Let's pop up this one a bit. Let's take a listen to it now. There we go. I like it. So let's fade them in, fade them out. All right. So that it just has a nice, it doesn't attack immediately. It doesn't like, if there happen to be a little tiny bit of hiss, which there isn't, we're fading it in. So it'll just make it so much better than having that room sound. If there's any room sound pop in, all of a sudden, there it is. All right. Okay, cool. I also want to go down to the Francesca, our lead vocalist. I want to show you guys something. Look at her volume levels from here as compared to from here to here. All right, so this area out here is when she's just singing with the piano, and she was being intimate. She naturally is singing quieter than when the whole band is playing. So take a listen.
Thought I'd visit the club.
All right, now listen to her.
Miss the Saturday dance.
I mean, so she really, the human voice is very dynamic. All right. So I want to make a little correction right here.
Anymore.
All right. She stopped singing. She says anymore. Let's zoom in on that. Anymore. This is the word more right here.
Anymore.
All right. She stops. You can see this little blank spot. She stops right there. I'm going to go ahead and separate that clip right there. Control and E will separate the clip. So there it is. And now that gives me a couple of neat options. First off, right here, if I want to, I can increase or decrease her volume when she's getting loud, but I'm not going to do that on that clip, all right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to come out to the beginning, and I'm going to go ahead and increase her volume just a little bit so that she'll ride on top of the piano at the beginning. That may have been too much. Let's take a listen.
Missed the Saturday dance. Heard they crowded the floor.
All right, so for the time being, I'm going to go ahead and keep that there. I may decrease that once we start getting her EQ'd. We're going to warm her up a touch. What's this right there, right there? What is that?
Might have gone.
The reason why I did that is that's really loud. All right, that might have gone. So we may need to do a little bit of work on that. We'll just decrease her just a skosh. All right, we're going to come over here and we'll do some work on that. Maybe not now. Let's take a look. Let's because might have gone is pretty hard. I could compress her, and I'm going to, but why not go ahead and level out some of the volumes manually, and then have the compressor do the final touch-up work. The compressors don't work as hard that way, and plus you don't get a compressed sound. Even though you're using a compressor, you don't get a real heavily compressed sound when you set your compressor to take care of these volume levels, and then all of a sudden something like this one right here that comes up. The compressors smash really hard, and you can get that hard smashed sound. I don't want that. So let me zoom in on this. Let's take a look at it.
Might have gone.
All right, so might have gone.
Might have gone.
Let's go ahead and I'm gonna put it right there. I'm gonna separate her right at that spot, like so. And I'm gonna separate it just before. All right, and we're gonna go ahead and pull might have down just a little bit. Might do a little less than that. Let's listen to it.
Might have gone.
So much better. So much better. All right. Out over here where I made this, we go from two different volume levels. We're at like +4 or +5 dB on this clip as compared to this one. Now, we've got a piano playing, so we're not going to hear a volume change in the clip. But I'm going to go ahead and do a safety. Watch this. I'm going to take this guy. I'm going to go, and I'm selecting across this edit, this split track. I'm going to hit Control and F, and it brings up a fade. So I'm going to go ahead and do a linear fade on both of those, and now I've got a crossfade so that it fades. It causes it to fade from +4 decibels or +5 decibels, whatever I have it out at the beginning of that clip, and it fades it down to now 0 dB. And we're probably going to end up doing that a lot. Well, not a lot, in a few places in this. So,
Miss the Saturday dance.
yeah, that's way better. All right. There's a couple things that we're going to be doing this, like what we did here, where we came in tight and just taking one or two words, and then we're going to increase them or decrease them just to get them under control a little bit. Let me listen to that one once more. I may have pulled a little too much of it out.
Might have gone, but what for?
No, that sounds fine. That sounds fine. All right. In a sense, I've compressed it, but it's not compressed. All right. We've just at that moment lowered the volume and then brought the volume back up. So again, that it's under control. Since it's at 0.11, I'm just going to leave it. All right. Okay. Zooming out here. I think overall the volume levels of this are going to remain as is. So we're probably going to go ahead and head into and start doing some EQing. Okay. When it comes to equalization, we can either do EQ with or without reverb. Reverb does change EQs in a sense, because reverb is basically we're adding a room. In this case, it's a virtual room. We're going to add a different room size, and depending on that room, whatever that setting is, it disperses. There's a disbursement adjustment. It disperses certain frequencies quicker than other frequencies. So in some cases, I do like to have my reverb on and set, or at least have some reverb on, so that I can hear how, when I'm EQing, how that EQ is interacting with a room. Before I do that, though, and I promise you we're going to do that, I do want to start dialing in some of the EQs, do some what I call, in a sense, pre-equalization. I'm going to go ahead and put an EQ on each one of these channels. I'm just going to hit Alt. I'm going to come up here. I'm going to plug in, choose my 7-band EQ, and there we go. I have EQs on every single one of my channels, and we're probably going to end up using EQs on every channel. The first thing that I'm going to do on each EQ is, in class, I talked about this. So this is Francesca's. This is our vocalist, her EQ. And real quick, I'm going to go ahead and we don't need to have any low end on Francesca. All right. Especially, we're talking 20 hertz, 50 hertz. Some of her voice, she starts making frequencies in the neighborhood of about 100, 150. All right, that's still pretty dang low. All right, but some of her, she's about 150, 200 is where her range starts. So I'm just gonna pull out all the frequencies on her channel, from 20 up to about 100, maybe a little more. All right. But so what I'm going to do is I've turned this on. I've turned on my high pass. All right. And this is a real easy curve. So I'm going to sharpen that curve. All right. So I just sharpened the curve. All right. And I'm going to roll out all the lows. There is going to be low end on her track, period. If I don't roll it out, it's a nature of the beast. When you have a mic out there, especially condenser mics are so sensitive to the tiniest fluctuations of almost atmospheric pressure that those tiny fluctuations actually translate into low end flutter, and we don't want low end flutter. We're going to try what I'm doing right now, and I'm going to do it on every single one of my channels and tracks, is I'm getting ready to EQ my kick drum, and I'm making space right here for my kick drum to live on every single one of tracks. I'm going to roll off, even on the bass track, I'm going to roll off a little bit of the low end on my bass, just so that we don't have that extreme low rumble from 30 hertz down to 20 hertz. You know, it's almost not needed, especially for a jazz quartet. Oh, come on, we don't need it. Most of us don't hear it anyway. Okay. Also, and I'm probably going to do it a little later, but I may end up going along and rolling out the extreme high end on just about every single track. That will give room for my cymbals to live a little bit, and I'm even going to roll them off, but it'll also give room for Francesca's air. When we're adding air to her voice, it's going to be out in this area. We're going to add that air to her voice, and it'll give her voice a better presence, because we've made room for that presence to live on all the other channels by rolling out a little bit of the ultra high end from about 15 kilohertz on up. Most people can't hear above 17 kilohertz. So we're just going to make room. We're just going to get rid of the useless noise that's in every channel. So here we go. That was Francesca. All right. This is my piano. I'm going to do the same thing. Ding, ding. All right. Going to kind of roll it out here up to about there, making room for that, for the kick drum. Same here. I'm just going to go one by one. All right. One by one, and get them all rolled out. I'll go ahead and pause it here, and so you don't have to live through this part. All right. Okay, so there we are. We've done all of our EQs as well. We've just set the EQs on each track, and I've rolled off the low end on every single one of these guys. And I'm stopping now with my kick drum. So I'm going to solo the kick. Actually, let me put it to where we can actually hear some kick. He gets pretty rocking right here. All right. Let's take a listen to it. It's all right. It's kind of thuddy. It's a little dry. Let's go ahead and start working on it. So the very first thing that I want to do is I'm going to try to bring out the tap a little bit, just to give that kick some definition. So I'm going to go with my high mids. I'm going to turn, this is a parametric equalizer, so I'm going to go ahead and turn down this guy so that it has a real narrow, that's a little too narrow. All right. And what I'm going to do is we're going to listen, and I'm going to find the exact area by moving this thing around until I find that area where the kick is at its brightest point. And then narrow in on it. Okay, I like that. All right, so it's hey, how about that? Remember what I said in class, that sound of the beater hitting the kick is always somewhere near between 2K and 2.5K. Look at that. It's at 2.12K in this particular case. Ta-da! All right, so that right there has already given the kick drum some definition. All right, now I'm going to give it a little bit of warmth. All right, just a little bit. Okay, and now because I don't want any, I can sort of hear a little bit of the high end of the snare in there. I'm going to roll out the highs on this guy. Cool, and yeah, I'm liking that. That's sounding pretty. I'm hearing a tone that I'm not sure I like. It's a low do tone. Let's find it. So to find a tone that you don't like, we're going to go ahead and narrow down this guy. All right. And now we're going to find that tone. It's somewhere in this area. There it is. All right. That tone I don't like. So I'm going to see if I can't just pull a little bit of that tone out. That might have been too much. There we go. Notice over here now that I'm getting a little red light on my output. Let's take a look at that. Okay, that happened when I was trying to find that tone. It's okay. You can have your EQs, any of your special effects that you throw in on your inserts can actually clip internally. And what's funny is that they may clip here, but they won't clip on the channel. You won't see these little lights light up here saying that, hey, you've clipped. All right, but they are clipping internally in effect. So in this case, it's the EQ. That's why we've got an output. All right, so our output, let me turn it up so you can see it. There. All right, we just clipped inside the EQ. And that didn't show up on the channel over here. Look. We clipped, but it didn't show up over here. So it's clipping inside the EQ, and I'm just going to pull it down until the heavy hits that Lewis did don't clip out, which I'm pretty sure if I keep it at 0 in this case, we've pulled out enough. Yeah, all right. That's sounding a lot better as far as my kick goes. We may come back and visit it again, but for right now, I like it. So you go away. All right, let's take a listen to it in the mix now. I like it. All right, that floor tom. I think it was floor tom. Yeah, the floor tom. We got to do some work on that floor tom. So let's go to it right now. Let's go ahead and the first thing we're going to do, because it doesn't need it. It doesn't have any extreme high end on the floor tom. So I'm going to pull it out, and it was somewhere in that area. All right. Pull it down. Yeah, that's better. All right, I'm liking that a lot better. It has a little bit of a rattle. I think that was just the cabinet of the drum itself. Bummer. It's okay. We can cover that up. There we go. That's better. All right, that's starting to sound a lot better. Let's take a look at our snare. All right. This snare is popping. A great snare sound. So let's take a look at it. We've already rolled off of the lows. Not a whole lot of lows on the snare, but the snare has a lot of information right in this area. This is the body of the snare lives here. All right. And then the rattle of the snares themselves lives in this area, right in this area. So we don't need an extreme high end on the snare, so we're just going to roll a little bit of that off. All right, let's put this, and let me pick a spot where he's got some good snare hits going on. Ooh, look at that. See that? All right. We're clipping out inside of our EQ. So I'm just going to roll it down a little bit. The input, let's see what that does. All right, roll down the output just a little bit. All right, let's do some adjustments first, and then we'll work on making sure that it doesn't clip out inside the EQ. I do want to give the snare just a little more presence, and the reason being is because at the beginning of this piece, he's using brushes, and brushes, there's no meat. There's none of this low tone sound when we're doing brushes. That's all up here where the snares are. All right. So let's go ahead and grab my go to grab this one. I want this one here. All right. Sounds a little better. There's still plenty of this down here. You know what? I think I like that. Let's hear what it sounds like at the beginning. Hear how it brings out the brushes. I like that. For right now, let's leave that there. We'll come back because I noticed that a couple of hits were still at the end. We're still kind of giving us some problems, but we'll take care of that. I also think let's listen to how low the brush sound is compared to the rest of the mix.
Missed the Saturday dance. Heard they crowded the floor.
It's just barely in there. So, and notice how this entire area from way out here all the way to about here, the volume levels are quiet. Okay. And what's happening right here? Is that a couple of little rolls? Ah, he's switched. So at some point he switches from brushes to snare, to actually using sticks. This looks like a good hit right here. That's definitely a hit with sticks. How about right here? Nope, he's still on brushes. So how about this one? Now he was up. There we go. So that's our first hit with sticks. Up to that point, it's it's all brushwork. I'm going to take it from this point here. Let me roll back out. Let's take a look at it. Yeah, you can see that the snare itself gets precipitously louder across from here. From this out here, he's pretty quiet. From these areas right here and forward, he's doing some solid hits here and definitely some solid hits down at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and do that thing again, that thing that we do. And I'm going to split it right there. And I'm going to come out to the beginning, and I'm going to bring up the levels of his brushes into the mix.
Missed the Saturday dance. Heard they crowded the floor. I couldn't bear it without you. I don't get around much anymore.
Gives it like the sound of an old record. I love the sound of brushes.
Heard they crowded the floor. I couldn't bear it without you. I don't get around much anymore.
I like that. That we may do some more adjustment on that, but we got a nice sound on the brushes. His snare at the end, it sounded pretty tight. We're going to do some EQing on that bass. We're doing EQing on just about every single one of our tracks. So let's take a listen to Tom 1. Okay, well, let's go ahead and bring up Tom 1's EQ. Could use a little more richness. There we go. Definitely don't need any high end on the tom. All right, maybe a little bit of the tap. Okay, that sounded a lot tighter. I like that. A little warmer. A little bit more of the tap presence. And now let's hear it in that roll in the mix. That sounded kind of good. All right. Let's see here. My floor tom. I'm going to leave my floor tom alone. We may end up pulling a little bit of the kick out. I noticed it was kind of loud right there. He's having too much fun on the drums. A little rim shotty thing there. I love it. Okay, let's take a listen to our overheads. All right, so boom, 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 overheady. Oh, you know what? We should put it in a spot where we're getting some good overhead stuff going on. How about right in this area? Yeah. So let's go ahead and I'm gonna solo. Yeah, we'll solo both. All right, so first thing, I want to bring out my hi-hat a little bit more, okay? So that's this EQ that I've got up right here. And really, I don't need to have any low end on this thing. I just don't. I mean, I can hear the kick pretty well on this overhead, from this overhead mic. I don't want any of that, all right? I'm going to let my kick drum mic that I just EQ'd and sounds pretty tight, it's going to do that work. It's going to add the EQ. So I'm going to go ahead and roll out some of the low end, or a lot of the low end. All right, let's see what that sounds like. We're probably going to mimic that on the other EQ. In fact, I'll go ahead and mimic it now. Somewhere in this area, somewhere like this. And then we were rolling off the extreme high end because we want to give a little bit of space for the air that we're going to be putting on Francesca's voice. So let's see what we got. I know that sounds really thin, but now let's listen to it in the mix overall of the drum set. All right, so let me just turn on everybody here.
what for. It's awfully different without you. I don't get around much anymore. It's awfully different without you. I don't get around much anymore.
Oh, we gotta edit that. You hear that at the end? So they couldn't see themselves. The drummer couldn't see, so he was going solely off of what Randall was doing on the piano. And listen to Randall, the piano player, puts an ending, and then Lewis puts another ending. All right, so there's the ending that Lewis put on. Here's the ending that Randall put on. Ba-da-dum. All right, and they should be synced up. So there's a couple ways that we can fix that. And we'll fix it later. Let's keep on EQing. It's like, stay on target, stay on target. All right, all right. I'm kind of like that. You know, it's like when I hear a problem, I'm thinking, ooh, hey, let's fix it now. All right. Let's go down and EQ our pianos. All right. The pianos already sounded pretty darn good. I love the sound of this piano. The mics that I used, I like the sound of those mics. Let's put it in a spot. Well, let's go to the solo section because that's when he's playing great. He's running the whole gamut on that piano at that point. All right, so my left channel is the low end. So I'm going to warm up the low end just a little bit. Just a little bit, not much. All right, just give it a little presence. All right. The top end, boy, it sounds really good. I may want to just roll out some of the very extreme high end. Again, we're just making room for the voice. Okay, let me go to the beginning when he's playing long, drawn out notes. Oh, rich. Wow. That's amazing that a 6.5 foot, almost what do they call those, mini grand or miniature grand. It's not even it's like 6 foot 7 inches. So it's under 7 feet, therefore it's not considered a real grand piano. But man, does this thing got a great sound. Oh, I'm basically gonna leave it alone. If there's anything that comes up when I'm doing more EQs and I'm adding in my room effects, I'll do some work there. But oh man, that's all it needed to happen. I wanted just a little more warmth on the low end. All right, and we got it now. It's oh. All right, so now let's hear it with Francesca in there.
Heard they crowded the floor. I couldn't bear it. Man.
Got lucky getting that piano. That's a story in its own. How I got basically a near original 1917 Knabe brothers. I think that's what their name is. I can't believe I've forgotten the name. This particular piano is the one that all pianos based their sound off of, including Steinway. Steinway changed their sound to match the sound of the Knabe brothers sound. So just amazing that I was able to get this piano is just stunning. Now I've had to do some work on it, which is fine because I love working on it, but holy cow.
Heard they crowded
For quick EQ passes, this is actually starting to sound pretty good all the way across the board. Hey, you know what? Let me hear the overheads again now that we've done some more EQing.
Anymore. Thought I'd visit the club.
Man. All right, so let's work on Francesca's voice. It doesn't need a whole lot. It really doesn't. That tube mic that I've got is really, really sweet. But, you know, I've already rolled off the low end. She doesn't need any extreme low end. I just don't need it. I am going to give her just a little more warmth on the bottom end, and then we're going to work on her air. But to do that, we're going to have to do something really weird, all right? So I'm going to take her EQ. It's up here. I'm right here, all right? Going to take her EQ, and I'm going to drop her down, all right? In fact, I'm going to drop her down right there, all right? And I'm going to go ahead and, let me see, how do I want to do this? Do I want to, we have to, there are so many different ways of compressing her voice. We can either EQ first and then compress, or we can compress and then EQ. You know what? For right now, I'm just going to let it sit. I'm going to put in what's called a de-esser. So it's under my dynamics down here. Am I looking right at it? Yep, there it is. There's my de-esser. All right, so the job of a de-esser is to take a lot of the high end that makes up the S and the T, the S, T, a little bit of SH, not too much, and we get rid of it. And you're going, if we get rid of it, then we're going to get rid of the clarity of her voice. Uh-huh. But watch this. So I'm going to change it to high frequencies only, all right? And then I'm going to start dialing in her voice.
Anymore. Thought I'd visit the club. I got as far as the door. They'd have asked me.
Okay, so what I've done is I've chosen the frequency. Right, this is the primary emphasis. Anything above 7.2 kilohertz and above gets dropped off. All right, and the range is how much do I want it to drop off? Do I really want it to kill it, or I want it to just be a tiny bit? All right, I do want to drive it down a little bit more. Let me put it to a spot where she's getting into singing a little.
Anymore. Missed the Saturday dance. Heard they crowded the floor. I couldn't bear it without you. I don't get around much anymore.
All right, okay. Let's just leave it there at that. All right, so I've de-essed her. And now, with the de-esser, if I don't de-ess her, that means as I try to bring out the air in her voice, if I just bring up the high end, so that we can hear more of the air in her voice, it will actually bring up the entire high end. And so all of the S's, all the T's, SH, some of SH, a little bit of CH, at the very beginning of the letter, anything with the letter D, will have this just hit you in the face presence. We don't want that. So we de-ess it. Now I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to change my high frequency to a bell curve. I'm going to narrow this bad dog way down. All right. And now we're going to add in this area way up here called air. Let's listen to her voice now.
Anymore. Missed the Saturday dance. Heard they crowded the floor. I couldn't bear it without you. I don't get around much anymore. Thought I'd visit the club. Got as far as the door. They'd have asked me about you.
All right, so let's listen to it. I'm going to bypass it and take a listen to what it sounds like without this setting, this EQ setting.
Anymore. Miss the Saturday dance.
All right, now listen to it with.
Anymore. Miss the Saturday dance.
All right, now, what I've done is I've given her a lot of air. It also brought up some very really precise definition of all the consonances so that we can hear exactly what she's saying. It just happens to be that the cymbals all create sounds in this area too, which is why if I go back and take a look at my overhead left and overhead right, look, I've dipped this area out in my cymbals here and here so that her voice can fill in that void with the air and some clarity. So now let's take a listen to it. We're listening to the whole thing with her air, the cymbals, the drums, everything.
Anymore. Miss the Saturday dance. Heard they crowded the floor. I couldn't bear it without you. I don't get around much anymore.
I turned her down just a little bit. It was almost too much air.
Anymore. Miss the Saturday dance. Heard they crowded the floor.
Let's go with that. We may change it. All right. Again, these are my initial settings as we're learning, kind of getting the feel of this whole thing. All right. So that is one super cool trick that I just showed you guys. You DS, and then what you've taken out as far as the high end, you put it back and then some. And that allows the breath to come through. It allows for a really good controlled clarity of her voice by doing this. So we've warmed her up. We took a little bit out, just a touch out of the mid-range, upper mid-range area because it seemed it was a little too strong for me. I kind of didn't like it, but who knows? Again, as we go. All right, bass. This guy, I want a little more mid-range in him. All right, so let me go ahead and solo him. Oh, let me put it on a spot where it starts right away with bass. There we go. Okay, there's a sound in there that I want that the strings make. And when I was recording, I wasn't hearing enough of that because the first two takes, I had my mic more towards the meat, the body of the big upright bass, close to the sound ports. And it gave a very rich sound, but I didn't get enough of the string sound that I'm looking for. The fingers on the strings. There's a certain sound that I want that gives a definition to the bass, especially the acoustic bass. And now watch, we're going to do it and we're going to find that. I like it. Let's zap this in. Yeah. All right. We can make him a little more rich, but not too much because he'll get muddy. All right, so now let's listen to him in the entire mix. Oh, I like that. Did you hear that? Right there, right where I hit stop. The sound of the strings slapping up against the neck. Oh.
I couldn't bear it without you. I don't get around much anymore. Thought I'd visit the club. Got as far as the...
Yeah. I think I like that. All right. We may come back and do some more adjustments on that, but that definitely brought out more of that. The personality of Owen's bass. Owen's bass had great personality. What a super presence. I probably should have moved my mic even a little higher towards the neck, the top of the actual body, and picking up a little bit more of the neck. I didn't. Oh well. All right, so I just kind of corrected that in a sense by using my EQ. All right, we're getting closer to where we're going to start actually doing some mixing because the presence of everybody is kind of in my face, and we got to do some. We'll end up doing some mixing. I also have some editing to do, okay? Anything else? Overhead left, right, up, piano. So everything's looking pretty good. Let's listen to it from the beginning right here with these EQ settings.
Missed the Saturday dance.
That's so sweet. Oh my gosh. All right. Too much fun.
Anymore. Missed the Saturday dance. Heard they crowded the floor. I couldn't bear it without you. I don't get around much anymore. Thought I'd visit the club. Got as far as the door. They'd have asked me up.
You can see as I'm listening to this, I'm hearing things. It's like, okay, remember how I said I want a little bit more hi-hat? I had it turned up too much. I just had to turn it down. There was too much hi-hat, so I just brought it down a little bit. It was like click, clink, clunk. I'm like, okay, I got it. Hi-hat. Yeah, you like the hi-hat. Turn it down. All right, so I just turned down the hi-hat. Anything else?
Anymore. Missed the Saturday dance. Heard they crowded the floor. I couldn't bear it with.
Obviously, this is still very dry. Let's just throw a little bit of verb on the entire output. We might change that. We might make a submaster and we'll have it everything. We'll have a few things run through on the verb and a few things not run through on the verb. But let's just see what it sounds like putting verb on the master output. Most people don't like to do this. I'm just experimenting. If it sounds great, I'm going to leave it. I'm going to start with the very, very initial sound that they give me, but I am going to turn up the gain because it's cutting out 4 decibels off of everything, all right? So I'm just going to turn up the gain up to about -1 just so we don't overdrive the unit. I guarantee you that this is just solid verb that's going to sound like we're listening to a party and we're standing inside a basketball court that doesn't have anybody in it and the party is on the other side of a slightly open door. I'm going to pull that way down. Let's put it right there. Let's go back to the beginning and listen to it from this point so that we can hear what Francesca's voice sounds like with this verb. Way too much. Let's start that over again. It was just way too much. So we'll come right here. By the way, trimming that out. I didn't clean that up. How about that? All right, let me zoom in on it and put a little fade in. There we go. Okay, now let's listen to her.
Missed the Saturday dance. They crowded the floor. I couldn't bear it without you. I don't get around much anymore. Thought I'd visit.
Okay. Still sounds like it's a little too much. I'll probably end up pulling it down. Let's go out over here when things are kicking off because you have too much reverb and it just makes everything just like, it sounds, all reverby and nasty. So I'm going to probably end up pulling a bit of that out.
Missed the Saturday dance. Heard they crowded the floor. I couldn't bear it without you. I don't get around much.
Interesting. I just heard a problem spot right down here.
I don't get around much anymore.
Hear that? She says anymore, and the piano does a dun-dun-dun, and she gets lost. She gets buried in that.
Anymore.
So we're going to have to take care of that. Let's leave the reverb set right there for right now. Let's go down here and anymore. All right, so anymore starts right there. Control and E, and let's get it out right here. And let's bring up anymore just a little bit so the piano's not killing her. That was a little too much. Let's go back and hear it in context.
I couldn't bear it without you. I don't get around much anymore. Thought I'd visit the club.
That's better. That's a little better. We're probably going to go ahead and throw that's what this space is up here, a compressor, just a compressor a little bit, not very much. Oh, for sure not much. So let me go ahead and just throw up the standard. Remember, I just kind of work with everything that's standard. I don't go out and buy all the expensive stuff. Kind of don't need it. All right, so let's go ahead and I don't need a whole lot. I'm literally going to start with 2.5 to 1.
I couldn't bear it without you. I don't get around much anymore. Thought I'd visit the club. Got as far as the door.
So I just set her threshold way, way, way up there so that it's only getting the things where she got really loud. All right. And I pushed up the gain just a skosh so that it's bringing up the things that were not quite as loud, bringing them up a little bit by 2 decibels. So it's tapping her when she gets too loud, it's tapping her down. And when she's just normal, it's bringing her up a little bit.
I couldn't bear it without you. I don't get around much anymore. Thought I'd visit the club. Got as far as the door. They'd have asked me about you. I don't get around much anymore.
That sounds pretty sweet. That definitely helped out. We're going to be listening to the whole thing soon, but there's some editing that I want to do. Let me get everything ready to edit. So I'll be right back. Hang on a second. Okie dokie. Let's do some editing. So I don't like the beginning. Remember how earlier when you were watching, if you were watching, remember how I said, I don't like that. Listen to this. So it seems that what Randall was going for, especially right here, he went ding, but it's like ding. Listen. But it ding. All right. So I just don't like that for some reason. There was an intro that he did that I did like. And I think it was the second take. Here's the third take. No, it wasn't that one. So it was the second take. Listen to this intro. That sounds a lot more polished than this one. So let's replace them. I'm pretty sure that we can replace them. Let's listen to the last note, the fade out.
Missed the Saturday.
So right here, let me mute Francesca. Right there. Hear that? We can make this fit because he's on the same chord, same hold. Hear that? It's the same chord, same hold. So let's go ahead and go out over here. We're going to go ahead. Here we go. We're going to get rid of this intro up to that point. All right. And then we're going to, actually, you know what? We're going to place the other one right on top of it so that we can move it around and put it where we need it. All right. So here we go. Boop, 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 boom. We're going to grab these two like so. Control C. All right. So I'm copying them. We're going to come out here and we're going to paste it right on top of this guy. Let me zoom in, make sure I'm on. Yep. Right here. There we go. So the new one is now on top of the old one. Let's listen to it. Okay. So do you hear Francesca in the background, right? This is the piano. So it's called bleed through or print through. It's the piano mic that caught Francesca. Listen to the hold. Hear that? All right. We got to get rid of that. So let's pull it back. All right. And pull this one out to meet it. Let's see what happens there. Oh, yeah. And I like that last little, let me see here. So we don't want that. Okay, so we're going to move it in.
Missed the
Maybe too much.
missed the Saturday day.
All right. Okay, so I like the placement of that. All right. Listen to the intro. It's got a nice timing to it. It doesn't feel rushed.
Missed the Saturday dance.
Ooh. Okay, now we got to make sure that we've matched the phase. Because if we don't match the phase, we're going to get a real problem when I put a cross fade on that. Because I don't want it to pop from one to the next. Listen, if you can, turn it up. You're going to hear it pop from one to the next. Hear that? I don't like that. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to match the phase. To match the phase, I've got to move down inside this guy to this edit. All right. Now I'm going to increase the waveform to look at it. All right. And now we're looking right at that edit. All right. Let's move in. Dun, dun, dun. Okay. Look, we've got a crest. Here's a small crest, a trough followed by a trough. So I'm going to take this trough and I'm going to put it right on top of this trough. Like so. And there's a little tiny glitch right there. Do you see there's a little bobble? Let's get rid of that bobble. There we go. So now it goes right from a crest trough, and it moves naturally up. Down here on the bottom, it's about the same. Let me see if we can match it a little better. Like so. All right. Now we're going to crossfade it so that it has a natural decay over this. So we're going to, let me see how far out do I want to do it. All right. So let's do it we'll do a crossfade from right here to right here. Let's see if it has a phase out. All right, that's cool. That sounds pretty good. Let's hear what it sounds like with Francesca in there.
Missed the Saturday dance.
I like that so much better. All right, let's get rid of this because we just don't need it. All right, let's put this. There we go. There's a little fade in.
Missed the Saturday dance.
Cool. All right. Now let's go to the end because we had not necessarily well, yeah, it's kind of a problem. All right. I've got two endings. I've got an ending that Randall, the piano player, gave us, and I've got an ending that Lewis gave us. So let's take a listen to it right here. So we can, I kind of like all the stuff that Lewis is doing on the drums. All right, he does this nice little dun 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 dun. All right, so let's extend the piano. All right, so this is, all right, this needs to happen just before this. Ba-da-dun, ting. All right, that's what I'm gonna go for. Ting, that. So let's start by, let's go ahead and move this guy. Okay, let's move him out to ba-da-dum, dink is what I'm looking for. Okay, so I've matched the kick drum with the low note, ba-da-dump. I like that. All right, now we got to extend this out because this sounds like poop. All right, no. All right, so this area here has a real nice decay that's holding out. It's really not decaying too much. It's just the ring of the strings, but they're not getting precipitously or noticeably quieter. All right, so I'm just gonna grab a little chunk of this, all right, just to fit it in there, Control C, all right. I'm gonna put it out right over here. You know what, let me give it a little more chunk of that, a little more. All right, so Control C, all right. I'm gonna pop this guy right here, Control V, okay, and we're gonna move it in. Let's listen to it. All right, I like that. Let's extend it out over this part, like so. All right, so I've got a little too much of the ring of the high end there. All right, hear that? Hear how it makes the pop? All right, I don't want that. Let me put a couple crossfades across that. We may have to do, well, I know we're probably going to have to do some phasing on that. I don't want to go any further because it's getting too bright at that point. All right. So let's go in and look at the phase, see if we're phase matched before I put a crossfade on it. Nope. See how it does an instant jump right there? All right, this one has two. Let's move this one this way. All right, this one this way. That should do pretty good. It's close. Okay, let's look at the other side. Other side's looking okay. Yeah, the other side's actually matched up really well. All right, now let's go ahead and throw a crossfade on that. It's going to be a long crossfade on this one. All right, so that it covers up that jump. Oh, you know what? It can't be too long because then we'll hear, you know what? We're probably just going to have to do a shorty. Let's Control F. All right, put it on there. Let's listen to it. Maybe we can disguise it inside that. So Control Z, all right? And let's make the first edit. We may have to drag this out a couple times. Let's put it right there. So it's inside that roll, so it's not quite as noticeable. And let's put another one. Nice little piece of this one. Control C, Control V. Let's move it over here. Oops, sorry. There we go. It's this little piece right here that's gonna give me a headache. Let's take it at the end. Let's meet these two in the middle. All right, so let's try a crossfade across that one. Okay, there's a little bit of a volume jump right here. Let's hear what it's, let's do a longer crossfade on that one. It's almost imperceptible now. In fact, if you wouldn't know that it was there, you wouldn't be able to tell. Let's put a crossfade across each one. All right, crossfade here. Crossfade there. Crossfade here. All right, let's listen to it, make sure there's no weird phasing. I like that. Nobody's going to know that that took place. All right, so we extended out this last note. I like it. I like it, like it, like it, like it. Let me hear that to the end. Let me hear that to the end. I'm gonna really critically listen, see if I don't like it any. Here we go. Here we go.
How much anymore?
I'm good with that. I like that. I'm still hearing a little too much of the fade bob right here on that crossfade. It's okay, I guess. Yeah, nobody's gonna notice. Nobody's gonna hear that one. We'll hear it because you guys know it's there. But if you were to just play that, you know what we can do? He's doing a roll right there. So let's bring out that roll. So it'll cover up the volume problems. Dun, 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 dun. All right, so we're going to have to do a little crossfade there. A little more of the roll. There we go. Control V, Control F, put it there. All right, let's back it up a little bit. There. So that now, the roll of the floor tom covered up that volume, that's very, very slight volume difference. So we've changed the beginning and we've changed the end to make it sound, I guess, a little more natural.
Missed the Saturday dance.
Cool. And then let's take a listen to that very end one more time. Let's go right to here.
It's all but ever without you. I don't get around much anymore.
Okay. Okay, I like that. So now we're about to that point where we've got almost everything ready. We're gonna do I want to do a little more balance as far as mix balance, because right now it's not mix balanced very well. I mean, there's some problems. She's a little too loud here and there. Piano's too quiet here and there. So let's start with the beginning and see what we get, and we'll start getting ready for some mix balance work.
Saturday dance.
You know, I really could bring those up. All right, we can bring them up a little bit just to have more of an intro, and then that crossfade will bring them down automatically.
Missed the Saturday dance. Heard they crowded the floor. I couldn't bear it without you. I don't get around much anymore. Thought I'd visit the club. as far as the door, they'd have asked me about you. I don't get around much anymore. Darling, I guess my mind's more at ease, but nevertheless, why stir up old memories? Been invited on dates, might have gone, but what for? It's awfully different without you. Don't get around much anymore. Miss the Saturday day.
Okay, all right, right there. That's the very first thing that we need to do. That I find there was something that she says, been invited on dates. I want to go listen to that one a little bit. But this is another intro. You know, it's not quite loud enough. So I'm just gonna pop it up just a skosh.
Miss the Saturday.
Yeah, all right. So just this section from right here. So Control and E to right here. That bump. I want that. I don't want the bump. All right. So we're just gonna just a little bit. All right. Not much. Oh, that was too much. Too much. Yes, I could do this with automation, but if I can have a crossfade do it, heck, man, why not do it this way?
Anymore. Miss the Saturday dance. Heard they crowded the floor. I couldn't bear it without you. I don't get around much anymore.
Okay.
Much anymore.
You know, we've got this edit right here, and it's don't get around much anymore. And I'm deciding that maybe I want to have don't get around much. I'm not hearing the ch. It's there, it's right there, but it's because of a hi-hat. So let's drag this out over here. Remember, that's the exact, everything is exactly lined up. So we've just drug that across so that, so she gets a little louder on, and I can hear the ch of much a bit better. Maybe a little bit.
Much anymore. I don't get around much anymore. Thought I'd visit the club. Got as far as the door. They'd have asked me about you. I don't get around much anymore. Oh, darling, I guess my mind's more at ease. But nevertheless, why stir up old memories? Been invited on dates. Might have gone, but what for? It's awfully different without you. I don't get around much anymore.
Okay, right there, right there. All right, so we're really kind of narrowing in on the mix feel of this. So here's don't run around much anymore, and then the piano solo starts. All right, so let's just go ahead and bring him up a little bit. We can either automate it in, or I can clip volume it in. It doesn't matter. Let me go, you know what, Control Z. Let me put this cut right here, all right? So that I can fade it in a little better. We're just gonna pop him up a little bit. Because remember, the piano's taking the lead now. So it should no longer be slightly behind the vocalist. It should actually come out. So let's put a crossfade across that. All right, and now let's take a listen to it.
Anymore.
By the way, I've noticed that the balance of the piano is slightly off. Take a look at it. All right, here's piano left, piano right.
Anymore.
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and ungroup them and bring up the right side just a little bit.
Anymore.
All right, so now we're in the bass solo, so we've got to bring out the bass, right here. All right, it sounds a little thuddy. We're gonna go in and EQ him again. All right, and see, and this is what happens. All right, we just as we go, we need to use our ears, and it's like, you know, he's sounding a little thuddy. A while back, he sounded fine. Now that we've got this whole thing, everybody's EQ, well, he's sounding a little thuddy. So let me go ahead and bring him out right here. All right, this is his solo, so Control E, and his solo is gonna go up to when he... right there. All right, I hit the wrong button. So he's gonna go up to that point right there. Look. Boop. All right. That's no reason to have that mic on during that point. I just want to have my my drums at that point. So let's go get into this clip and let's bring him up to where he is taking the lead. He's going to be put in a lead volume position. Yeah, he's so thuddy. We got to go back in and re-EQ him. In that area there that he's just a little too muddy. So let's move this over here. Let's bring this a little... It's that tone right there. Do, 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 do. Do, do. So let me narrow that one down and let's find it and see if I can't pull that out a lot. All right, same thing. All right, he starts playing right there, so we're getting rid of all that. I'm gonna go ahead and bring this up. All right.
Oh,
yeah, so we're gonna do some automation on the piano. Now that we got the piano pretty ready, balanced, we may end up doing some automation on the drum set too. But so like for instance, everything is sounding pretty balanced up to the very end with our piano. Maybe we'll, you know what? Maybe we'll just put in a crossfade, you know, a clip volume change.
Oh, darling,
So this part right here.
oh, darling,
So I love the lead in.
oh.
So right there, that note, we're gonna go ahead and put our split in right at the beginning of that note. Okay, control, and oh yeah, that's why, because we had him up for the solo. So let's go ahead and boop, oops, boop, 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 boop. Didn't want to do that. Right there, dink, dink. All right, so now let's listen to that.
Oh, darling, I guess my mind's more at ease. But nevertheless, why stir up old memories? Been invited on dates. I might have gone, but what for? It's awfully different without you. Don't get around much anymore. It's awfully different without you. I don't get around much anymore.
Okay. We're getting close, you guys. We're getting really close. I want to go back. I'm hearing something with Francesca, which I may have to compress her a little bit more. We'll see. Let's take a listen from the beginning. I know you guys going, oh, really? Yes, really. The reason why I stopped it is because I saw over here on my master, I had a couple of clipped out lights, so I wanted to make sure that I've reset them so that I could see where it's going to clip, and then we've got to make adjustments from there. By the way, I just realized I never did answer the question, how come I didn't use gates on these guys up here? Why didn't I just gate all that out instead of cutting them all out? It's a preference thing. I could have the computer do it, sure, and that's a lot of processing power for it to be, you know, gating everything on those two channels. But especially here on my hi-hat, I don't want to put on the overheads, I didn't want to gate the overheads. All right. So, but these guys, I certainly could have gated them out to where the only time they popped up is when the sound of the stick hitting the toms or the floor tom was loud enough to get beyond the threshold, and it opened and then it decayed. But, you know, it's one of those things. I'm setting it up to where I don't necessarily need to do that. I clean up vocals this way too. If there's a lot of space in vocals, I just and clean up my vocals. It's just cleaning. I like clean tracks. I like making sure that I don't have any sound coming through where I don't want it to come through. I guess I could have done that with a gate, but I didn't. Meh. All right. Isn't that what they say? Meh. All right. So here we go.
Missed the Saturday dance. Heard they crowded the floor. I couldn't bear it without you. I don't get around much anymore. Thought I'd visit the club. I got as far as the door. They'd have asked me about you. I don't get around much anymore. Darling, I guess my mind's more at ease. But nevertheless, why stir up old memories? Been invited on dates. but what for? It's awfully different without you. Don't get around much anymore. Missed the Saturday dance. Heard they crowded the floor. I couldn't bear it without you. I don't get around much anymore. Thought I'd visit the club. Got as far as the door. They'd have asked me about you. I don't get around much anymore. Oh, darling, I guess my mind's more at ease. But nevertheless, why stir up old memories? Been invited on dates. Might have gone, but what for? It's awfully different without you. I don't get around much anymore. It's awfully different without you. Don't get around much anymore. It's awfully different without you. I don't get around much anymore.
Okay, all right, we're really getting close. Found a spot right here. It's the same spot. So my mind's at right here. So more at ease. She's buried right there. So you can hear the S of ease, but she just kind of disappears in there. So let's pop it right here. All right, so here we go. Control and E. Another Control and E out here. All right, let's pop her up a little bit just so that we can hear that. Let's hear it. Ah, that was too much. In fact, I think I'm going to pop it out over here. Yeah, right in there. So Control and E right there. Control and E right here. All right, let's pop it up. A little more. All right, now I know it makes an immediate jump, so this is why we're going to do the crossfade across that, just so that it blends that pop. That's a little too much still. Let's bring it down. That sounds a lot better. All right, let's go back here in context.
Oh, darling, I guess my mind's more at ease. But nevertheless, why stir up old memories, been and find it on dates? I might have gone, but what for? It's awfully different without you. Don't get around much anymore. It's awfully different without you. I don't get around much anymore.
Okay, so the drums get really loud there at the end. So we are definitely going to have to do a little automating. I do want to put in, I'm going to put in what's called, and a lot of people are going to be like, no, but I don't use it for what people actually use it for. All right, so this is a maximizer. I'm going to give it a ceiling. All right, I'm just going to put the ceiling down at -0.1. All right. I don't really want to do much maximization.
Oh, darling, I guess. Oh, darling, I guess my mind's more at ease. But nevertheless, why stir up old memories, been and find it on dates? I might have gone, but what for? It's awfully different without you. Don't get around much anymore. It's awfully different without you. I don't get around much anymore.
All right, so all that guy is doing right now, I'm kind of using the maximizer as a limiter. It's a quick and easy limiter, plus a maximizer can help with kind of widen things. It's a maximizer. It maximizes not only, we can use it to maximize the crap out of the volume levels, but I'm not using it for that. I'm using it to attenuate the top end when things get just a little too loud, but I don't want to see this, the actual attenuator over here doing hardly any work. It did 5 decibels of cut on one of those big hits. So I just zeroed it out. Let's find out where it is.
Oh, darling.
All right, so right there at the beginning, it's already lopped off 2.1 decibels. That's not noticeable, all right? But it's just enough to keep things under control so that I'm not maxing out, I'm not clipping out on my master volume level.
Oh, darling, I guess my mind's more at ease. But nevertheless, why stir up old memories, been and find it on dates? I might have gone, but what for? It's awfully different without you. Don't get around much anymore. It's awfully different without you. I don't get around much anymore.
So, that is, it's on the drum hits that's actually kind of tapping out the drums. It's quite possible that if I wanted to, I could certainly route the drums to an aux channel and put that maximizer on the drums just to keep the drums under a little bit more control. But there are times also when I noticed that the piano did it a couple of times where it just went over the top on my master by just a skosh. So now this maximizer is acting as a peak limiter. It's keeping my peak down to a ceiling of -0.1. So 1/10 of 1 decibel underneath 0 dB, just to make sure that I don't go over the top. We're getting really close. Really, really close. I think there was something. So, yeah, let's go ahead and do a little bit of work on the drums as far as automating them. That'll be the last thing. Okay, so now we're going to be listening to the whole mix again. I know. It's just the way it goes. Okay? So we're going to listen to the whole mix again, and I'm going to make some mental notes as to when the drums feel like they're just getting a little too much in my face. All right? They have a great balance at the beginning, but it's out here when he's getting excited. I mean, that's I love it. Dynamics. I love dynamics. Don't get me wrong, but we just got to get them under control just a skosh, just a little bit to match the rest of the feel of the song to where he's not overriding the drums, the piano, the bass, everything else. All right. So I'm sure what's going to happen is somewhere in this area, I'm going to have to automate the entire group and bring them down just a skosh. All right, so let's take a look at, we're going to start out here. We know that he's under control over here, but let's start here. all right, where they go into the swing.
Missed the Saturday dance. Heard they crowded the floor. I couldn't bear it without you. I don't get around much anymore. Thought I'd visit the club. Got as far as
Yeah, that sounds all fine. Okay, let's go down here. Okay, it feels like the right overhead mic might be a touch too loud, so I'm going to bring it down again a touch. Hey, guess what? Guess what? Look at what Dave didn't do. All right, I didn't do my cuts here. All right, so and look, there's a little bit of if I mute this or if I mute everybody and just solo the piano. Listen, you're gonna hear the bass solo in the background. All right, so I'm gonna get rid of that. I mean, yes, yeah, you're right, Dave. Why don't you gate it out? All right, I'm just cleaning it up. So now I'm going to go ahead and put in a little fade out, little fade in. All right, right there. Okay, same thing right here. All right, going to put in those nice onomatopoeia sounds that you guys like when I make. All right, there's that. All right, right here. Okay, excellent. And one more, or actually it's two more. All right, so we're going to go from here to here. All right, fade them out, fade them in. Rawhide. All right, and then one more right there. Okay, and there we go, and there we go. All right, so finally, let's listen to when things get exciting. We're listening. Remember, weren't we listening for drum balance? Yes, we are. You know, it was one of those squirrel moments. All right, so okay, here we go.
It's awfully different without you. Don't get around much anymore. It's awfully different without you. I don't get around much anymore.
You know, now that I listened to it, all it was is I tapped down the overhead right mic, and that seemed to take care of. You know, I only tapped it down by about 3 or 5 decibels. And that seemed to take care of what I was hearing that was like, man, that's bothering me. A little too much drum there. Yeah, for you drummers, you're like, no, it can never have enough drum. It was too much drum. All right. You can never have enough trumpet, though. Your trumpets are just always in your face. Trumpets can never have enough trumpet. We didn't have a trumpet in this one. All right. We're really close. We are super close to making our first mix down, a rough mix. Okay. Let's listen to it maybe one more time. All right, see if there's anything that's glaring. I'm going to be listening to the balance of the whole band and especially the balance of Francesca, the way she's pretty dynamic with a lot of her words, all right, as she's singing. So I want to make sure that they're all balanced out. She's not too underneath the band, not too on top of the band. Here we go.
Missed the Saturday dance.
I already think that she's too loud. All right. Right there at the beginning, she's too loud. All right. So I'm just going to pull her down a skosh. All right. I've got too much clip volume on her. All right. Let's see if we keep it like that over there. All right. Here we go.
Missed the Saturday dance. Heard they crowded the floor. I couldn't bear it without you. I don't get around much anymore. Thought I'd visit the club. I got as far as the door. They'd have asked me about you. I don't get around much anymore. Darling, I guess my mind's more at ease. But nevertheless, why stir up old memories? Been invited on days. Might have gone, but what for? It's awfully different without you. Don't get around much anymore. Missed the Saturday dance. Heard they crowded the floor. I couldn't bear it without you. I don't get around much anymore. Thought I'd visit the club. Got as far as the door. They'd have asked me about you. I don't get around much anymore. Oh, darling, I guess my mind's more at ease. But nevertheless, why stir up old memories? Been invited on dates. Might have gone, but what for? It's awfully different without you. I don't get around much anymore. It's awfully different without you. Don't get around much anymore. It's awfully different without you. I don't get around much anymore.
I like it. It's sounding pretty darn good. I'm going to come up over here and actually hit Control and S just as a spot to save it. I'm going to make a quick mix, and I'm going to take it out to the stereo system in my living room, and I'm going to listen to it out there. Then I might listen to it in my car. I'm going to listen to it in a number of places, and if I like what I hear at all those places, I'm going to say to that. And probably call this one good. Otherwise, if there's any changes that I feel I need to make, I'll come back and I'll make them. Of course, you'll make them with me. So for you, this is going to see a blip of the eye, but or a simple fade. But for me, this is going to be about an hour. All right, maybe a little less than an hour, because I'm going to listen to it intensely in a few different places. I'm actually going to turn it up loud in here, and I'm going to stand back on the other side of the room. I'm going to listen to it. So I'm going to do all sorts of very hypercritical listening. So mix volume, frequency balance, and if I like what I hear, I'm going to call it good. All right. So for you guys, it's going to seem instantaneous. For me, this is going to be a little while. Okay, so I listened to it a number of times on various systems and made a couple of small changes that I want to talk to you guys about. I would have gone through those changes with you, but you know, this has got, we're over 3 hours. We've been sitting here, if you've watched this from the beginning to the end, 3 hours. So a couple of decisions that I made. The first one was I didn't like the sound of the bass. So once I got my ears reset and I came in here, I gave it a new bass EQ curve. I brought out a little bit more of the fret noise, well, actually non-fret, the neck noise of the strings, and I brought out a little bit more of the MIDI tones of the the mid tones of the bass. I still cut out a lot of that one ringy tone that I didn't like in the bass, so it's got a much better presence within the entire mix by having this EQ curve. All right, second, drummers, you'll love me. I didn't feel that there was enough drum, so I actually brought up the drums overall just a little bit. What did I do? There was my snare. I gave it just a touch more of an EQ, just a touch more, so that it would ring out on the snare end a little bit better. Vocals. I felt that there was a little too much air on my vocals, so I re-EQ'd my vocals to bring some of that air out. I just had it too much, and I think that was it. So what's going to happen now is you're going to watch me finish up this video. We're going to watch. It's like, yeah, you get to watch it one more time. You're going to listen to the mix along with them performing. So this is what we have created together, and we've replacing the audio that was caught by the handy cams and replacing it with our mixdown. And then I'll be picking up the cables. And some credit rolls will happen during that time. So, hey, we made it. I'm pretty darn happy with what I'm hearing. I could probably do another couple hours of work on this, just some minutia. But at some point, you have to say, let's put the baby to bed. All right? So that's what we're doing. We're putting this baby to bed. We've done some really great work together. I like what we've done. I like how it sounds. It's got a very natural sound, although obviously we did a lot of work. Mix balance sound, EQ sound. We did a little bit of limiters, a little bit of compression, a little bit of limiter. We lifted the air on our vocalist. And now we're going to watch it together, watch them perform it, and then I'm going to put the cables, well, that's the last thing, cables, credit rolls, and we'll call it good. This whole thing is going to be about 3 hours and maybe, 10 minutes or so. 15 minutes, 3 hours, 15 minutes. So I hope you learned a lot. I really do. I hope you learned a lot. And remember, this was all done with budget microphones, using no special plugins on this entire project. You know, like I went out and spent hundreds and hundreds of dollars to have the latest and greatest super great analog plugins. Nope. All right. You can do it with without doing all that. You can do a good mix without, or a great mix without all of, spending a lot of money, because as you know, I don't like to spend a lot of money. I think that's it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know if you enjoyed it or not. All right. And so here we go. Now we're going to watch the mix with the band, and then we'll put the cables away, and we're going to call it Happy Snappy. Happy Snappy. Okay, we're rolling. Whenever you're ready, go ahead.
Missed the Saturday dance. Heard they crowded the floor. I couldn't bear it without you. I don't get around much anymore. Thought I'd visit the club. I got as far as the door. They'd have asked me about you. I don't get around much anymore. Darling, I guess my mind's more at ease. But nevertheless, why stir up old memories? Been invited on dates. Might have gone, but what for? It's awfully different without you. Don't get around much anymore. Missed the Saturday dance. Heard they crowded the floor. I couldn't bear it without you. I don't get around much anymore. Thought I'd visit the club. Got as far as the door. They'd have asked me about you. I don't get around much anymore. Oh, darling, I guess my mind's more at ease. But nevertheless, why stir up old memories? Been invited on dates. Might have gone, but what for? It's awfully different without you. I don't get around much anymore. It's awfully different without you. Don't get around much anymore. It's awfully different without you. I don't get around much anymore.
That
I
was
love
nice.
that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That felt good.
Everything gets put away now. It's amazing the amount of setup that goes into a simple recording. You know, it took us a couple hours to get everything set up, and now it just tears down. Takes a couple hours to tear it down, and the whole session, even with all 4 takes, was about an hour. So, just the way it goes. It's the nature of the beast. Teardown time is always a good time for me, in that it allows me to run things as far as how did it go, how it went, were there problems, what were those problems, and I just kind of run mental notes. Teardown has always been one of my favorite times. I find when you break things down, it's just a very relaxing time for me. That I do not only troubleshooting, but run what was the good and what was the bad about the entire session. So just have to be patient. Patient setting up, patient putting things away. Keep things organized, keep things nice.
Don't get around much anymore. Oh, darling, I guess my mind's more at ease. But nevertheless, why stir up old memories? Been and find it on dates. I might have gone, but what for? It's awfully different without you. Don't get around much anymore. It's awfully different without you. I don't get around much anymore.
You're still here? It's over. Log off.